You're listening to Catholic Family Podcast.
We are back for another episode of the Catholic Family Podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Davis. Thank you for joining. And I'm very happy and honored again to be joined by Father Carlos Frzepeda, who is going to talk with us about a very special project of his. If you want to know a little bit more about Father, there's a podcast already up on our YouTube channel where we discussed his journey to the priesthood and how he became a priest who works with the CMRI and is now in Arkansas. A very nice story. It's really a fascinating journey to the priesthood, and I highly recommend anyone who would like to listen to that. You can go check it out on the website. I believe it's called, where is it, Father? A Journey to the Priesthood, episode 22. That's about Father Carlos. So, Father, thank you for joining again.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And so I guess we'll get right into it, because I think there's a lot you want to cover and a lot you want to kind of inform people about. So just start us off with what is this project you're working on?
Sure. First of all, I really appreciated you having me here. It was kind of like a request from my part, actually, because I wanted to promote this a little bit more. And I know that you have been doing this for a while, and many people are listening to you now. But the idea that we have is it started in a fairly modest way. We started in the seminary making some recordings just to study. You know, we drive a lot with the priests. So the way we would try to keep up with our studies was to make some recordings and just listen to them while you're driving. And from there, the idea kind of grew of making that in a future time a podcast and things like that. And then as I started my work as a priest, I realized that a lot of people were too far for me to reach. Right now I have probably 15 or 17 people that are beyond 3-4 hours of driving. And some of them are converts, people that are just coming to the faith, and I have no other way to reach them. So the idea, the project is called the Catholic Wire, and I want to explain the name because we wanted a better name. I was trying to find I was aiming for the Catholic Truth, but that was worth $4,000. So,
wow.
Yeah, it was like, nope. So we went for the Catholic Wire. It was simple, I think, and sticks. And the idea is to make sort of it started as a podcast, but it's actually kind of becoming more of a dream of having an actual communication network, meaning to actually have podcasts, blogs, video, channel, all kinds of stuff, and some sort of a tool to do some community building. So if you don't mind, some of the purposes that I would like to share with you and with everyone, why are we doing this? I kind of touched upon it a little bit. The first one is to attend to the formation of our own parishioners. And this, for me, is very important because when I was growing up, I went to public school all my life. And there were a lot of things, very important things that I had no idea about. Just recently, I posted in there a sermon about Extreme Unction that to me was very important because I had no idea about Extreme Unction when I was growing up. I had no idea of how, I knew, that the sacrament is there because you memorize that in catechism, but you don't know how it's done, what it means, what it does, all that kind of stuff. So I think for our own parishioners, hopefully they might find some stuff interesting and useful. The other thing is what I said, helping out new converts, especially people that are far away from the church. And I'm hoping this will be very useful for priests as well, because sometimes you go and visit someone that you just met and you tell them, well, go ahead and read this book, but they have a job, they're working all day, they come back home, they're tired. Sometimes for them it's really hard to read. But if you have a catechism thing on the radio, a podcast where you can actually listen to it as you're driving, then you can, get some of that formation in a easier way. Another purpose that we have is to try to help priests and sisters with their work, something that I think most priests can probably relate with is that we in our particular congregation, we are very much spread out, and you are, far away in a mission. And sometimes you find yourself having to do again the work that someone else has done. You know what I mean? Say, for example, a very simple thing. You're out in your mission and you're going to do a baptism. And you have to go and find a baptismal form and the baptismal certificate and type it out yourself and all such things. And every person that goes out has to do the same thing. And Father Borja actually had a really good initiative on this. He recently created a website to kind of like store documents. So we want to take that and just kind of like keep it up and scale it up for both priests, sisters, and as we will discuss, homeschooling parents. And I guess to end up, just two more would be to try to provide Catholics with a way to connect. You were talking in a recent episode about, and we discussed this over the phone, about trying to connect people, especially young Catholic people. I can't tell you how many people I've met that are, living out in a farm or living in a city where there's no more Catholics around them. And it's like these guys are 18, 19 years old, and they have no one to relate to, no one to talk to, or sometimes very few expectations of life, because it's like they don't have any way to connect or to develop their abilities. And I'm hoping this will provide for that too. And the last one is kind of like maybe I shouldn't say it, but I'll say it. It's kind of like a little strategy that we have. Some of the missions that we have in our congregation are very small. We appreciate it. For one soul, we would travel as much as we have to if we need to save one soul, or if our Lord wills to save a soul through us. But something that I noticed, for example, some of my missions are very small, and the problem is, how do you reach out to people out there? If you have a small mission in a small chapel, you're not going to go and preach in the squares because you might get shot or, put in jail. You're not going to go and knock on people's doors. Same thing. So how do you promote it? And the thing is, you can't just put a billboard out there saying, well, come to the church here, because you don't know who's going to show up. There's a lot of things that they need to know. So what I'm hoping is that once we have decent material in this project, in this webpage and podcast, what we can promote is the podcast itself, the webpage itself, around the missions. And then, for example, if I have a mission in Oklahoma, I can promote it there, and then people in Oklahoma will get to know these things, and they will seek for a church. So those are basically the main objectives we have so far.
Oh, I think they're beautiful, Father, and you know how much I agree with you and exactly everything that you're doing. I mean, it's kind of my dream. I think our dreams are very much in sync. I think we have we're on the same wavelength, and I think I feel the same way. Is that we desperately need growth, and it's we have people willing to do it, and we have the ability via the internet. The internet has so many evils and so many bad things to it, but it does have some good points to it too. Of course, it is an incredible tool if we use it correctly, and to have this ability to reach so many people in so many different ways, and to give people the opportunity, as you said, to listen to podcasts on the drive home. And I mean, my podcast, as you know, anyone listening knows, is a very simple podcast. It's not theological. Usually, it's very, very simple, basic things, and it doesn't even take a ton of my time. But I've still gotten comments from people who've said they've been going through some of the hardest times of their life, and they got through it partly through listening to these podcasts, which is absolutely incredible. And truly, I don't think this as being my podcast as being anything special. I really don't believe that. I mean, I think I've had some amazing guests, which obviously helps to do some really good shows. And obviously, I hope the Holy Ghost is with us in helping to spread, the good word. But it just shows you that I think people are so ready. They so desperately want, they want good material to put into their heads and to listen to or to read. And I think that your mission in spreading that, I think it's awesome. I mean, I absolutely love it.
Yeah. And well, here's something interesting that you mentioned, and it's kind of a very important point. When you're a religious or a priest, you dread to do something from your own will, doing something that is just you doing it. You don't want to, St. Vincent of Paul used to say, wait for God's providence. And to me, that kind of has been a question mark at points, like I was like, well, is this my project or not? And something that has been reassuring is the fact that you see divine providence wanting to have this. I'm not saying that the project is going to succeed. I'm not saying that it's going to be a huge thing. That's up to God. I mean, if this lasts for 3 months and then we're told to shut it off, that'll be fine. That's God's will. But what I see that is reassuring is what you're saying, that there is a lot of people connected in the same, like at the moment this showed up, there was a bunch of people ready to cooperate. And for me, that's much more significant because I have never been a person that is able to summon people. I'm the guy that used to go to, a group and would say like, let's play soccer right now. And everybody would say, let's play football or volleyball. So when I see that this is really something that God is doing it. And, it's just amazing how things have been popping up, like I was working on this and you started your podcast. And then some people were asking me, oh, can we do this? Can we do that? And, immediately there were some border boys or border girls that were ready to work on it. So it's been really, really, really nice to see that. And to me, the most reassuring thing has been so far the permission of the bishop to do this, that the bishop has seen the project, and obviously he's not able to review all the episodes. So he's not responsible if something comes out that is not the best. Just let us know and we will take it off. But he has seen like the general gist of it and he has approved. And to me, that's a sure sign that, this comes from God. If you go into the webpage, you will see several sections, and there is a pro and a con to that. The con is that you're going to be so excited because there's so much stuff in there. And then you'll go in there and you'll realize it's just the front page.
and I have to say, Father, too, that I will attach the web link to in this podcast. So anyone who wants to go, it's thecatholicwire.org. I'll attach that link in on both YouTube and Podbean. But sorry, go ahead, Father.
Well, I was just going to discuss some of the sections that we have. The first one that you'll see is called The Crisis in the Catholic Church. And that's kind of going to cover the same topics, around the same topics that you would find in Novus Ordo Watch. Like what's going on in the church, what's wrong, the things, why are we doing what we're doing? The second one, which I'm really excited about, I've been studying for that a lot, is called the True Papacy. And that what that's going to have is like the true teachings of the popes, lives of the popes, some of the documents, the actual documents that the popes enacted in the past. Another one, 2 sections that are kind of related, is going to be how to be a Catholic and what every Catholic should know. And that's going to be basically your catechism, but also interesting stuff that as Catholics you should know and you don't know. Again, you made an episode on something like this. Remember that book that you put out in an episode? I think it's called, what was it called? Something like that, like, what Catholics should do, or... Yeah. I can't remember the title. But it's basically that idea, like, okay, you have a baptism. What should you do for a baptism? What should you prepare? You have Extreme Unction. What should you prepare for Extreme Unction? If you invite a priest home, how should you act with the priest? What should you do? What should you not do? Don't invite the priest over to watch a Marvel movie or,
right. Sure.
Or something like that.
No, and just real quickly on that, Father, I think you're so right. That's another one I want to do a podcast on that. My wife Ina just got a book about etiquette, and it's not Catholic, but I think it's at least a good place to start, because etiquette in these ways of behaving, you're so right. It's so underappreciated in our society, and I think it's something that we've really lost. And I think that you see so much right now in our times, the lack of respect people have for each other and for themselves, for authority. And I think part of that comes simply from how we act to each other. We don't act with etiquette. We don't act with kindness. We don't act correctly. We don't act, also to our priests and to our sisters and to the brothers who absolutely deserve more respect simply because of their position. I mean, even if you don't like the person, the man or the woman, you have to honor that in terms of their position in life. And it should be also the same with the elderly and how kids act to the adults, et cetera. And I think that's such an important topic. And that's awesome. I think that's a great point, Father, that people do I think you could talk about these things for hours and have many podcasts, I think, to do this topic.
Yeah, and the thing is, a lot of people don't know. That's the thing. A lot of people don't know because they never saw that in their family. So I had a situation, for example, once when I went to give communion to a person that was sick, and when I got home, I had the Blessed Sacrament with me, and they knew I had the Blessed Sacrament with me, but they just don't know how to act. So they were like talking to me and making jokes and trying to start a conversation. And I'm like, I have the Blessed Sacrament. I have to, I can't talk right now. So those kind of things, I think what I want to do is like paint a picture, for people to see like, okay, this is what it should be. And here, before I forget, there's a thing that I've been thinking about with these shows. So one, for example, that we're going to have is the Catholic Mother, the Catholic Father. Obviously, you know what those are about. There's one about the young man, one about the young woman. And for example, something that I've been thinking is maybe I shouldn't be too specific because I might get people offended. I thought at one point, and I want to say this. It's true. I think I'm going to take the risk and I'm going to say things, even if people might get offended, because that's kind of the point of the website. The point of the website is to put exactly what it should be without judging. We're not like telling people, okay, oh, you're bad because you're not doing it. No, but we want to put it just how it should be so that you have the picture. If you make it up there or not, at least you know what's supposed to be like.
Exactly, Father. That's exactly right, though. That's the ideal, and again, people look at the church rules, and people look at the Catholic Church and they, oh, there's so many rules, and it's so hard, and it's like, okay, well, what's your goal? I mean, what do you want from life? What are you trying to do? And if you're trying to go to heaven, don't you want the building blocks and the stepping stones and the rope that literally leads you to heaven? And it's exactly your point that, I mean, if you want to set these rules, and the church in its beauty and its magnificence and its obviously coming from God gives us every single step we need, not even just to get to heaven, but even to live nice lives, like enjoyable lives. They give us rules on earth that make sense and they're practical and they make us happier. And so it's exactly as you say, people need to step back, don't get offended, and just see exactly as you say, this is the ideal that the church gives us. And if you follow it, you're going to be pretty shocked that your life's going to get better. Yeah.
So we're going to aim at that and, not take it personal with anyone, but just kind of like presenting that picture as it should be. So some other sections that we have. One is the spiritual life, which some people are really excited about that. That basically, the catechism is kind of the basics to become Catholic, right? The spiritual life is aimed at those people that want to advance more spiritually. So it's not just your regular duties as a Catholic, but you actually want to take that to an intense level. And, like the saints did. And I this one for me is actually very important. What prompted me to put this one there was that I met in my missions several people that were ready to move forward in the spiritual life. If you're a person, for example, that goes to confession and you rarely find any mortal sins, if you go to confession and usually what you confess is, I got distracted during my prayers, I wasn't as devoted as I should be, things like that, where you are kind of at this point where you're free of the greater evils and you're actually able to advance more. And that's what this section is aimed for. That doesn't mean that it's just for perfect people. Of course not. I mean, no one is perfect. We are all sinners. But what I mean is this section is for those that have that interest, where, okay, I want to build it up more. The consecrated life is aimed at sisters and religious brothers and sisters. And this one, actually, I was very surprised that we were allowed to have it. We're going to be very careful about it. Some of that content might not be open to everyone. Some of it might. But that's going to be aimed at helping them out, providing with content, give them, having tools for them. For example, a database of books for religious to use, tools, formats, documents that they can use, kind of like helping them out as much as we can. Then there is the Seminary Radio, which is aimed, as you can guess, to seminarians. And I'm not going to do anything about that. I'm just going to one episode every year or so. No, just kidding. That's actually going to be interesting too, because that's going to have resources for priests as well. Books for priests, documents that as a priest you might use or need. And I think this is going to be really useful for new priests that come out to know that, okay, all these documents are there. I just need to go and get it. There's your podcast in there, of course, in the webpage, which I'm really honored that you allowed us to put you there.
I'm honored, Father. That's a huge honor for me to be on there. No. It's a little strange with my face being on this Catholic website, but yeah. I guess there has to be something a little humbling on there, I suppose.
Yeah, that's a good point, because we're Catholic. One of my greatest struggles to find people is, people's modesty. It's a very good thing. I love it, because I was talking to you about this on the phone too. It's like, because your natural modesty as a Catholic is like, I don't want to be out there. I don't want to put my face. I don't want to put my voice even. I don't want to be known. But then that kind of gets conquered by the charity of saying, okay, I want to go and talk. I want to go and teach. I want to go and be able to help others. And sometimes it's good and necessary to actually have your face out there, to actually, for people to be able to relate to a person that they say, okay, this is that guy.
Right.
And so I think that is important. There's a couple more, there's a lot of sections, but so the Christian father and the Christian mother is not just going to be like doctrinal issues, the sections for the mother, the father, the young man, and the young woman, all of those, they are actually going to be more of an actual channel, so to speak. So we're going to have podcasts in there, yes, but then you can be featured in there if you want to, if you give us a call. You can make cooking videos and put them out there. You can make crafts videos and we can put them up there. We're going to have, for example, for the young woman, we're going to have like book reviews, maybe movie reviews, hopefully not, I don't know. The young man, we're doing like travel blogs, and the young woman too. We just went with some boys to a really cool cave here in Arkansas. We're going to make a video about that. I'm talking to some of the boys that have basketball teams or sports teams, and I asked them to make videos, and then we're going to edit them and put them up there. So basically, it's kind of like a little thing where you can share stuff with one another that is Catholic, all censored by the priest, and make it something that is exciting, for young women and young guys to see.
That's cool. I real quick, I got to comment on that because we recently had an event here in Germany, which we hope to make bigger next year. That's a big, my big announcement coming up, I hope next week regarding this pilgrimage that we do yearly now. And it's pretty incredible. We've been doing this pilgrimage 2 years straight, and it's doubled each time. Well, I guess 2 years. So we had 10 the first year and about 20 this year. And this year ended up being almost all young people, a couple of people older, but mostly everyone under 30 or so. And it's just unbelievably inspiring. I mean, we walk 60 kilometers or so, which is, I don't know, in miles, 28 miles, something like that. Nice. And what's really incredible about it is, and this is what I got to get documented, is the answers to the prayers that people have gotten from this pilgrimage. And it's incredible. I mean, I think from the 2 years combined, there's got to be, if 30 people went, I think there have been about 12 or 13 who had really specific prayers almost immediately answered. It's incredible. I mean, truly, the stories are really remarkable. And you see how Our Lady works, and you see these things, they work. You see why the church did these pilgrimages in these. Yeah, I guess mostly pilgrimages in fasting and hard, difficult things, and they did it for years and years, and you don't see it anymore. And I'm telling you, it works. If you go and suffer a little bit and you do it together, and we're singing on the way, and you have nice conversations and obviously prayer, and you have sore feet, but it's an incredible event. And that's something, Father, when we get that going, I'll definitely try to do a video where I get some of the prayers that were answered, because it's absolutely incredible, and something that, again, will come back on a podcast hopefully next week with a big announcement for that event, which I hope to be really, really huge. And something that I think I mentioned with you, Father, on the phone, that I hope that we're just trying to get a place to stay for the event, and I hope it's going to be a a big thing. But anyway, sorry, Father, to sidetrack.
No.
On to the next.
No, that's great. Actually, that before we forget, actually, I do want to mention here something. Please volunteer for that. Like you're saying, if you are in an event like that, if you are, for example, I don't know, whatever thing like that, send us the videos. Reach out to us and talk to us. If you send me the videos, I will edit them and I will make them look better. And even if you need training, if you are someone, for example, let's say that you're a young Catholic girl or guy that is in Germany, and you're like, oh, I want to participate in the Catholic choir, and but I don't know how to do it. Well, reach out to us and we will try to train you. We'll give you the resources so you can train yourself and do stuff and participate with that. I have my niece in Mexico. We're trying to train her right now so that she can go and do documentaries on the churches in Mexico. So she'll go and film the churches and kind of like explain the story in English, and then we'll get that and we will pay her some amount, something pretty much symbolic. So if you want to be a sponsor for that, that'd be great too. But, like that kind of stuff, I was actually going to say here, since I'm sure you have some listeners in Germany, if there is someone in Germany that would like to do that, film the churches and explain, what they're like, and do an actual documentary on that, we can do the same thing over there. And I would really appreciate all that kind of cooperation. But we'll go into that later. Just to finish really quickly with the sections, there's one about faith and science. That's supposed to cover, scientific issues or controversies like, evolution, creation, the tilma of our Blessed Mother of Guadalupe, the Holy Shroud, that kind of stuff. There's one about the Catholic Choir project, and that basically what's going to have is Catholic music. So you're going to have like a database of scores, and then you're going to be able, as we upload, you're going to have like the song, the lyrics, the recording of all the parts, so that when you want to practice it, you can just go in there and practice it. And one that is very exciting right now for a lot of people is the art project. The art project is a section where we're going to put a profile of Catholic artists, and we're going to upload their works of art, whether it be music or painting or drawings. I have already, I think, 3 people in there. I haven't uploaded them. I'm collecting their works right now, and we're going to put their profiles there. But that is really, I think that is really exciting because, as a Catholic, a lot of times, you've talked about this too in your show. A lot of times as Catholics, we kind of step back and retreat from the world. Retreat in the sense of defeat. Like we give them everything and we don't do anything and we don't take anything. And something that I want to say here, and that's kind of the point here, is the beautiful things, the arts, the true and the beautiful, all those things belong to us, to Catholics. It belongs to those that are in line with God, which is Catholic faith. So I think as Catholics, it's very important to take a more aggressive stance in that regards, in the sense of doing things, creating things, making our own music, making our own materials, and just putting it out there. Another thing that we're going to do, and get ready for this, we talked about this on the phone. You mentioned about doing a folk album in one of your shows. So for all the listeners out there, do start preparing, get your music ready, try to find a way to record it. Again, if you don't know how to record, reach out to me and or to us, and we will try to train you so that you can learn how to record in a very professional way. Because hopefully next year we will do a contest. We will announce it in the website. We will do a contest where you will upload your music with a music video, perhaps if you want to, and the winner will take a prize. So that's coming up next year, not this year, but probably sometime around Easter next year. So I'm telling you all right now, so you can start getting ready for that.
That's a great idea. I think that you're so right. How I agree with how we need to take back the media and take back the culture, because as you say, it's the culture has been taken from us. We had this even 100 years ago. You could say that we had the culture in our hands and we gave it away to the Freemasons and to the devil, really. And so exactly as you say, we can't just because the devil owns the world doesn't mean we don't just bury our head in the sands and say, okay, we're just going to let it happen. And we gotta totally create and get out there. And it's really important to say too that, and as you say, we're going to talk more about volunteers in a bit, but it's really important for everyone to know that you don't have to be a podcaster to be able to contribute. Father's going to tell you plenty of different ways you can contribute, because it's obvious that not everyone can do public speaking. That's totally fine. That's a pretty unusual trait, and it's one that not everyone can do. But that's okay. There's plenty of other things that I'm absolutely certain Father has other ideas for you. So don't start getting down and thinking, oh, I don't want to do a podcast, because there'll be plenty of other things you can do to help. Do you have any other channels, Father, or should we go into that? What people can do to help?
Well, there are some other sections, but those are the main ones, I believe. No, actually, there's a very important one that I should discuss too. This is the one that is the most ambitious, and so ambitious that I don't know if it's ever gonna take place. But there's a section called the Catholic School, and the idea behind this is we want to create a program for homeschooling for Catholics, a full program. Is that ever going to happen? I don't know. But the reason why I say this is because when I was asked to teach in Omaha, you pretty much get put in the job right away, and you realize you have to find all the materials and the books and all that stuff. And it's very frustrating. For me, it was very frustrating to try to find good books, and I really didn't like the stuff I had. Don't get me wrong; they have really good material in Omaha. I'm picky, if it's a Catholic history book, I would like to have like a really big Catholic history book with big pictures and all the homework ready for me and all the tests ready for me, so that I don't have to do anything as a teacher.
Exactly.
So I know that's a long shot, but in the meantime, what we want to do there is to start creating a list of the books that you can use for homeschooling for each grade. Grade 1, use all these books. Grade 2, use all these books. If there are teachers out there, and I'm hoping the sisters are super occupied, but hopefully in the future we can figure out a way to do it. If they can start sending the homeworks that they use for those books, then we can upload the book and all the homeworks for the school year. And if they can give us the tests that they use, then we can have the book, the homework, and the test. And that way, if you're homeschooling at your house, you could just go there, get all this stuff, and use it, and you don't have to break your head in trying to figure out what can you teach to your child. So that's very, very ambitious, but it's there. So whatever we can start building up, we can work on it, and hopefully in some years, perhaps, we might be able to collect at least a few programs.
But I think the ambition is awesome, Father. And it's so funny. Like I said at the beginning of the show, we're totally on the same wavelength. I've just talked with Ina, my wife, about this exact topic and how we can somehow create content to help homeschoolers, because I was homeschooled until high school, and I know the issues that go with it and the things that could be of help to mothers out there who really need content, and they need help. They need a system that they want to teach their kids well, and they don't want to put their kids in public school, because, as you know better than I do, Father, public school is full of so much garbage that you don't want to put your kids through that. And so homeschooling, especially right now, for goodness sake, is the best option for many people, because Catholic schools are unfortunately they're not very available. Mm-hmm. And so it's such a great idea. And I think that I love the idea of ambition, though, and that's another big topic for me at the moment, is to have ambition as Catholics. I mean, I think, again, especially with Corona, people, even Catholics, find themselves kind of staying at home and backing up a little bit and kind of, taking a step back. And when you think about it, look at the great churches that were built in Europe, all in France, Germany, Italy, everywhere. Most of them were built in the medieval times, 1500s or so. And these are magnificent churches that were built with absolutely no trucks or whatever. Mm-hmm. These were built by hand during actual pandemics, during actual Black Plague that killed 1/3 of the population. Did they stop? No, they kept on building the churches. That was their ambition. They had ambition to build something greater than them and something great for God. And that's totally the ambition we should have. We should not just sit back and be okay with ourselves, with our families, with our parishes. We've got to step forward and take the fight. Exactly as you said earlier, Father. We got to go on the offensive and be ambitious and build great churches and build big programs, even if it's one brick at a time, if it's one copied book at a time. I mean, if someone out there can't do a podcast, then heck, go get one of these old school books and copy every page and upload it to the internet. I mean, these are things they sound less attractive, but they're absolutely invaluable.
Yeah. And, like, that's true. I mean, those cathedrals were built, some of them in hundreds, well, not some of them, most of them in hundreds of years. And so it's about starting, and then let's make it grow. But hopefully, I have an example of this. Sometimes you run into missions and it's like you see a mission and they don't have much of a church or much of anything really, materially speaking, I'm saying. And you kind of think, okay, if we have been saving $10 a week for all these years, we might have had something right now. So it's like, you have to start it at one point. If we don't start this ever, then it's never going to happen. So hopefully this is all in the hands of God. If God wants it to happen, it's going to happen. But that's there, and that we can start building up something. And I really hope things can be done. There is a lot of ways you can help. And this is, we insist on this. Do reach out, because, for example, scanning books, there's a very easy way to do it. If you know how to do it, it is not even that hard, but you need to ask, because, do ask us, how do I do this? Because right now I'm blessed to actually have all the resources. So many people have talked to me or reach out to me that I actually know, I think I know some of the easier ways to do these things. So if you want to help, you can help like that. Give you another example. This is just one possibility there. You have a book about science, and it's not a Catholic book. You can actually get several books about science and hire a guy for really cheap, relatively speaking, really cheap, to actually come up with a book himself, basing himself on all these current books. He can come up with a book. We can edit the book, add pictures in there, and lo and behold, we have a Catholic book of science. And all we need really is the money, to finance this guy to do that work. Before doing that, I would like to have a program to actually know, okay, we are actually doing this program, so we can finance all this program. I wouldn't just do one book and not the rest of it. But just to give you an idea of how these things can work, I mean, there's a lot of things that can be done if people are organized. And one last thing about that is, there are some things out there, but at least my personal struggle, and I'm sure you can relate, is one thing is in that website, another thing is in that other website. This thing is in that lost website that you will never find because it has a name like Mrs. Aguirre's books for training. It's like, when on earth are you going to find that, So there are some things out there, but I don't know where they are. So if you have them, if you know those resources, send them over. And that's the nice thing about this. If God blesses this website and if it perseveres, is that it's easy to remember, it's easy to know where it is, and hopefully in time we can just, organize it all so that we have everything in one place. Those are all the sections and the ideas that are so far. We could go, I guess, into the people that could cooperate.
Yeah, sure, Father.
So the first thing is pray for the success of this project, that our Lord blesses us and gives us a way to continue. And if you're interested in cooperating with it, we can use. There are actually a number of people that have reached out to me, and right now we have several hosts for podcasts, and there are 3 people that are going to be researchers. Like officially, I think I'm going to give them the title of researchers and we have a corresponsal in Mexico. It would be very nice to have corresponsals in Europe, in Italy, in Australia, in Spain and Germany. And again, we can talk about how you can help there. We need writers, we need researchers. If you know how to edit video, that's going to be helpful. If you know how to edit documents, that's going to be helpful. especially if you know how to use Adobe programs. If you know how to edit audio, that's going to be helpful as well. And basically anything that you want to do, if you want to cooperate, let us know and we can ask you. One last thing is clothing. I think there's someone in Germany that has a clothing business or something. And we would like to put those things in the website too, because sometimes it's hard to find Catholic clothing. So if you're in any way, if you have anything that would be useful for other Catholics around the world, do reach out and we'll see how we can add that if it's possible. And that'd be really, really great.
Yeah, so it's kind of it's really a great idea, Father. It's so much bigger than just a podcast or just a blog, that it is almost on top of that a Catholic marketplace and a Catholic social media, not Facebook, I guess like a Catholic media platform, right? Exactly. So you can come there and, as you say, share your trades or share your stories or whatever it is, and be a part of this bigger group. And as you say, obviously there will be editing, and maybe your stuff's not allowed to be posted because it does have to be regulated, because we aren't Facebook, right? Exactly. So it is clearly the Catholic wire, which is going to be edited by you, by other priests, by religious, because that's what will keep it pure and good. That's what will keep it Catholic. As Catholics, you need to have that regulation, of course. But with that, I mean, just the idea, as you say, to be able to contribute and just to be able to be part of this, the Catholic father or the young men and young women or Catholic mother, I think that's an awesome opportunity, because as you say, there are people all around the world who may even just have the same interests. And hey, maybe someone in Germany has the same interests as someone in Australia, and that would be nice to talk about it, right? I mean, it's just nice to know. I think Sede Vacantes feel like we're 10 people on the whole planet. We almost don't exist. And I think that, okay, compared to the rest of the world, I guess that's kind of true. But there are others out there, and there are many people who think the same as we do and feel the same as we do and believe the same as we do. And I think your idea to connect them all together is awesome.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's a good point that you bring out. One of the things that I think this is going to do is, why are we not doing? I'm sure you're familiar with Restoration Radio. I love Restoration Radio; it's really good. We are not a competition to Restoration Radio, both because we don't have the quality and the number of material that they have. Our approach is different. And one of the things one of the questions that came out while we were thinking of this project was, should we just do it about religion? Why bring all this stuff about others, things that are not related to religion necessarily, for example, in the young men and the young women. And something that I thought about was this: if I go and talk to a Baptist mother in Omaha or in Arkansas or in Oklahoma about the Catholic faith, she might not listen. But if I start telling her, this would be a great way to be a mother, this is going to raise your children really well. If you practice this and that virtue, which the Catholic Church teaches, then your children are going to grow up. And, if you grab her through the things that she actually is interested in, then she might actually read all those things and say, wow, I didn't know this was the Catholic Church. I'm interested now. I wanted to learn more. And then they come to learn more about the faith. The same thing goes for the young man and the young woman. If you grab a teenager and you start telling him about the acts of mercy, perhaps they might not listen. Some might. But if you start telling him about, some great things that you can do as a young man, how to stay fit and also practice your faith, how to be moral and practice the virtues, and how, as you say, that actually brings you to happiness, and religion is necessary for happiness, and how religion is not this girly thing, but it's actually something that men should do as well. So if you kind of approach them that way, maybe they will read that and they will want to learn more. So that's very important for us in the website, and that's why I say I need writers too, because it's not going to be all about religion. For example, the Christian Mother section is going to have stuff about health, about raising children, about tips for motherhood, things like that. And there is actually a strategy there, which maybe I shouldn't share again, but I will. Is that when you are, for example, if someone Googles how to raise your children, And the websites that are going to show are the ones that have certain qualities. If our website shows up, then they might actually go into that web page. Someone that wasn't even talking about or thinking about religion. And then they're going to read that and they're going to be like, oh, I found this. Now I want to read more. So that's why we need to have a lot of material so that they can learn other things and from there learn the higher things. I just want to say just really quickly, don't be, I said this before, but if you go right now in the webpage, there's not going to be much content right now. We're still working. We're going to start kind of like in an experimental phase, and we're going to start launching our episodes on October 7, the day of Our Lady of the Rosary. In the meantime, if you have questions that you would like to have featured in the actual podcast show with your voice, or if you have petitions, topics that you would like to have covered, do send them to us and we will consider them. You can send them to Father Frzepeda, that's FRZEPEDA at thecatholicwire.org, or you can send me the voicemail to my phone number. Send me an email and I'll send you my phone number.
Good idea. Yeah, right. You're gonna start getting some junk calls and stuff, and people trying to sell you stuff.
Yeah.
Cool. No, I think that's really neat, Father. And I think that I personally know people who I think would be willing to contribute one way or another if it's going, and because so much of this stuff is also interesting and fun. And I guess I should ask you before we go further, what do people get from contributing? Do they get anything?
Not necessarily. Well, first of all, the website, one of the things that distinguishes us from other places is that we're not going to charge. So we're not going to charge any subscription or anything like that. Obviously, some things are going to be sold. For example, books. If we have books, we're going to sell them, of course. Not to make profit, but just because you need to buy the book. But we actually have a pledge in the About Us, in the webpage. We have a pledge where we're not going to charge, because one of the purposes is to distribute this to as much people as possible, as many people as possible. You say as much people or as many people? Many. Thank you. I learned something today. And that's one very important thing. So most of the people that contribute, that help us, they're not going to get much material stuff. I offer a mass every month for the people that are helping out. And so you owe me.
This is true. This is true. But and I think that's fine, Father. I don't think you need. I mean, I definitely didn't mean to think that people needed money for it. And I can say from my podcast that I obviously don't make any money from this either. But it's so rewarding. It's really incredible. I mean, and I guess it's special for me because I get to talk with people like you, people like I just talked yesterday with Father Geckel and Dominic about music. I mean, that's just, for me, it's just fun. It's enjoyable. But you'll be amazed. I mean, if you do something bigger than you, and something not just bigger than you, something that's bigger than you for God, it's just, you feel so good about it. I mean, it's not even just the graces you can get from it, hopefully, but you just feel good about it because it's something bigger. We're all made by God to strive for something bigger than ourselves, and this is a good way to do it. And you can do it in any way, and truly any way. Don't think any little thing is too small. As you say, copying a book, it seems tiny, it seems lame. It's really, really not. I mean, it's incredibly helpful and useful, and you never know what soul might be saved because of that one book that you uploaded to the internet, and that's a beautiful thought.
Yeah. Some things, like I will try to give some kind of compensation. It's not me. I mean, I don't really have the hands to do it. But for example, with my niece in Mexico, and if someone else helps out in Europe to make those videos about churches, I did offer some compensation. It's really nothing. I mean, compared to what you would get here in America, for example, it's really nothing. But I did offer some compensation because I know that they don't have time. I know that they have to put some time and effort in that, and they're young. So that might be a way to actually keep them working, and I know it's a good deal for the channel, so to speak, because we're not really paying that much. But for them, it's something, to start, and also maybe to improve their equipment, their gear, whatever they're using. If someone, for example, is interested in starting a course, like as you were saying, like a video course for Catholic schooling, well, let us know, and if we can try to find a sponsor, but if we can connect those things, we can find a sponsor and then someone that is able to do quality content, good content that is actually worth it, then we try to connect it, right? But as a rule, all of us that are working here, we're not going to get any kind of compensation. Myself, I don't get any kind of economical compensation from this. All the money that is donated to the website has to go to the website. I don't keep anything for myself. If by an impossibility we were to cover all the expenses of the website, or of the project, I should say, then that would go to the missions. It would go to some of the missions in our congregation. I will mention one last thing, and that's the last point I really had to say, is that right now, if you're interested in the website, go into the website and subscribe so that we can keep you notified of whatever is coming up. And also, do subscribe to the YouTube channel and to the podcast. You will find it in all the podcast services out there. And the same goes for the podcast of the Catholic Family, the one that you have. I would encourage people to subscribe. Why is that? That's not just a line that they say. The thing is, if you subscribe and you get people to subscribe, then the channel gets promoted. It shows above the other ones when people search for it. I'm not sure if you're allowed to say this or not. This might be forbidden.
Probably. We'll see. If the video gets pulled down, then I guess we'll know. I'll go back and edit it. I think it should be fine.
Yeah, but it's important for you to subscribe because that way it gets promoted. So right now, if you look for the Catholic Wire, for example, in Apple, whatever it's called, it's going to show up, but it's going to show up like in place 50. So the more people subscribe, the higher it goes, and then people will find it easier. And the same thing goes for the Catholic Family. People should subscribe.
And also comment and like. I mean, and share, because these things, again, it sounds like us just wanting to feel good that we got a bunch of likes and shares. And okay, I guess it does feel it feels better to get 50 than to get 10. But as Father says, it does help the algorithms. If you comment on a YouTube channel, even if you say great job or nice or exclamation mark, it doesn't really matter. They see, oh, hey, this channel is getting activity, this channel is getting likes, people are commenting, so we're going to recommend that to more people, because that's all YouTube wants, is to get more views, so they want people coming back. They don't care about anything else. I mean, typically, so they just wanted to push it, get more and more and more. So please, right, if you're listening to this podcast or any of Father's, of course, like, subscribe, share, comment. I don't really push it on my podcast because I don't know. I guess I forget about it often. Honestly, I should say it every podcast because it is important. It really is important to help to promote this podcast, because remember, Father and I aren't making any money for it. We're really truly trying to do it for the greater glory of God. That's truly the point. And if you think of it that way, please, like, share, comment, subscribe for the greater glory of God. Truly, it sounds crazy, but I really mean that.
Yeah. That's why I'm saying it, because I know you usually don't say it.
Thank you, Father. I should. I really should. I had it written down at one point, and eventually the paper got thrown away, and so now, of course, I forget every single time. But thank you. I'll write it down again, because you're totally right. I do need to say it every podcast.
And to be quite honest, I'm sure that they have something in the algorithm of YouTube and Google where if it says Catholic, they bring it down like 200 places below. But whatever, we have to do what we can. Exactly. That's great. I thank you so much for doing this show. I really appreciate it. One other thing that I should mention perhaps is it would be really great if we can get people to start helping doing catechisms in French, in German, in Russian. So I'm trying to bribe some of the seminarians right now to get them to do it. And if you can put some pressure over there with Father Weissensteiner, maybe we can start doing some in Italy, in Italian and in German. That'd be great.
So you mean podcasts, or you mean what do you mean catechism exactly? Podcast.
Yeah, we can do podcast episodes. We kind of have a structure that has been working out for the ones we have been doing right now. So in October 7, we will start releasing episodes, probably 1 or 2 every week or so. And we have some structure, but catechism, for example, it's been really interesting to do it. We started just by doing the questions and answers and then commenting on that. And an idea that just came to my head recently was to make a series of the catechism. So we're going to make several seasons. and to make one season of the catechism as a story, where you actually tell the story and then explain the catechism from that. So I don't know, there's so many ideas, so many different ways you could have a catechism that just makes it really interesting, but it would be really good to have material in other languages as well. I'm working on a parallel project in Spanish, but I want to finish the one in English so that then I can just grab all the stuff and just translate it to Spanish and get it done. But, it'd be great if people can help with that too.
Cool. Yeah, it's great, Father. And I do have some connections over here in Europe, so I'll try to I'll try to push some buttons and see what I can get going, because you're right. I mean, now is the time. Now is really the time. People are really fed up with the Bergoglian church. I think that they really finally see the true errors of it, and that these people don't care about your souls. They don't care about your faith. They don't care about you. And that they're not the true Catholic Church. And so that I think the more people who see that, they're going to be searching for, okay, if that's not the church, what is the truth? What is the faith? And that's why we want to help give them material that if they're searching online, what is the true church? Maybe it's going to be your website. Maybe it's going to be my podcast. Maybe it's going to be something that someone else contributes. So you just don't know what you contribute and who it might affect. And again, some of the emails I've gotten are just absolutely inspiring from people who said that they left the Novus Ordo and they're kind of looking into it, and they may have these podcasts of mine have helped change their mind. And obviously, again, it's not me. It's thank goodness I know so many of these great priests and people who can help bring the truth to light. And so it's such a great project. I'm really excited about it, Father. I'm really pumped about it. I'm going to be helping as much as I can and sharing it as much as I can, because I think it's so valuable and so important, and cannot recommend enough for anyone listening to this to do the same. Like, share, subscribe, and contribute to anyone you can. I mean, I just do it. Don't think you don't have enough time. I work a full-time job. Father, for goodness sake, is a priest who's taking care of multiple parishes and running about and doing his priestly duties. So don't think that you don't have enough time. Maybe you need 30 minutes a week or an hour a week or whatever it is you can contribute. I guarantee you, Father could use it. So don't think you don't have enough time, and don't use this humility or this being meek, because being meek is good, but we also need to go out there and be soldiers of Christ and spread the faith and go out there and fight. And I think that everyone listening can do that one way or another. So definitely get with Father. Father, should I put your email in the comments or in the show notes?
Sure thing. Please do. I don't know if I should put my phone number or not. Maybe I should. I'm not sure, but yeah, it seems like a bad idea. I recently got how sometimes you get like spam messages, and sometimes they're really bad. I got a spam message with a bunch of groups, it was like a number of people, and at that moment I was sending my sermon to a bunch of people. So I was like, okay, and I replied with my sermon. All these people just got my sermon right now.
Exactly. You're gonna spam me, then I'll spam you with a sermon. I like that, Father. Again, fight back, right? Exactly. I love it. Awesome, Father. Well, then, do you have anything else you want to wrap up with?
No. Just thank you so much for what you do as well, and we're all instruments of God, and this is going to be done in as much as God wants it, and just as much as God wants it. So let's just put let's all put ourselves in the hands of God and pray to God that we may serve Him as best as we can.
Perfect. Thank you, Father. On that note, again, I'll attach Father's email and the website in the show notes. Please contribute in any way you can. Father, thank you. God bless, and I hope to have you on again sometime soon.
Thank you so much, Kevin. God bless you.
You've been listening to the Catholic Family Podcast. If you enjoyed this show, please share it with your friends and family. You can support the production on Patreon and PayPal, and you can reach Kevin at kevin89davis@gmail.com. Ad maiorem Dei gloriam, all for the greater glory of God.